Lynch said other stuff. He says that Dee Ford likely isn't coming back, and the Niners are going to take a bit of a financial hit the next couple of years. Was it $5 million this year, $5 million next year? Most likely.
$5.83 million.
What do you think of this?
Yeah, so I mean, technically they do save $1.1 million next year and 2.76 the year after that, but they do lose $5.83 million total. So there is a small saving as opposed to keeping him on the roster. It's kind of like when people say, "Oh, the Falcons saved $8 million of cap by getting rid of Matt Ryan when they still have $40 million of dead cap due." Like technically it would have been 48 if he was on the roster. It's still 40, even though he's playing for the Colts. So it's kind of a little bit of that situation. I'd never expected Dee Ford to return. I think that Dee Ford could have been cut maybe earlier with a post-June 1st designation, the way Austin Hooper was cut. I think the reason they're holding out hope is, and this is just pure speculation, just an idea I got actually right now, is that maybe they think he could retire.
Possible. Give him like the benefit, like give him a chance to do the right thing.
Give him a chance to retire, right?
Yeah,
because that makes things a little bit easier. But that's the only reason why I think he hasn't been cut with the June 1st designation. I don't know if they've really made moves per se, trying to be aggressive to get a guy to replace Dee Ford, because to me, Dee Ford would have been a massive, massive impact player last year if they had, a 2019 Dee Ford down the stretch of the season. I think in the NFC title game, that's the kind of player, other than at the quarterback, but they've already addressed that, is really what, in my opinion, they were missing. And so because of that, I think that it's definitely, like, at this point, it is what it is. I think Dee Ford's also a Band-Aid that's been a little bit prolonged. They keep looking for something that they're just not going to get from him at this point. I mean, he's been dealing with this back and knee thing since Auburn. I remember he was a medical red flag for a lot of teams when he came out, and he was a hell of a player at Auburn. He went in the end of the first round, mainly in spite of being a phenomenal pass rusher, by the way, because of this back and knee problem. And he managed it all the way in Kansas City, was able to parlay it into a massive contract, got paid a lot of money. But I think at this point, it's best interest in for everybody. But if you're Dee Ford, why wouldn't you just keep working to try and get back? Because you make some money working to get back. So like,
that's what I would do. I don't even think it's even stealing. Like, we agreed to a contract. My back hurts. I'm going to do everything I can to try to play. I mean, you owe me $11 million. You want me to retire?
No, I don't think it's stealing at all. I think, in fact, it's smart for Dee Ford. And in fact, to me, it shows a lot about Dee Ford's character. The fact that he's been through all of this, he's paid this much money, and yet the guy still worked his ass off to try and play last year. He's still working again to try and play this year. Yeah.
He's not going to quit.
It's not his problem. It's not his fault that medically, he got hurt.
Parag was supposed to protect the Niners. He's supposed to have that team-friendly deal.